When an electrical estimate crosses a desk as a single-line entry of $4.8 million, it triggers two completely opposing reactions. To a commercial contractor, that number represents a carefully bounded, targeted bid designed to maximize profit. To a construction manager or owner's rep, that exact same flat number is an unlevelable liability that hides cost risk. Understanding which side of the table you sit on dictates every decision you make about scope and price. And getting it right is critical, because the commercial electrical market is expanding at a pace the current workforce cannot sustain. This chart visualizes that extreme labor scarcity. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 9% employment growth for electricians through 2034. Yet, Associated Builders and Contractors data shows the industry must attract 439,000 net new workers in 2025 alone, simply to meet baseline demand. That massive worker deficit translates directly into immediate cost pressure and supply chain delays. When qualified labor is scarce, project schedules stretch, overhead compounds, and contractor margins erode. In this environment, an inaccurate takeoff or an unverified budget is a direct path to insolvency. Precision in estimating requires understanding the structural divide between these two roles. The contractor's mandate is to generate profit by tightly bounding their scope. The construction manager's mandate is to validate the budget by exposing scope gaps. Confusing the two destroys profit margins and wrecks project financials. Let's isolate the contractor's perspective. The contractor estimator operates a pure profit center. Their sole function is to construct a proposal that exchanges their company's labor, materials, subcontracts, and overhead for a rigidly fixed or negotiated sum. This funnel graphic illustrates the mathematical reality of competitively bid commercial work. Industry benchmarks dictate that a standard win rate sits between 20 and 35%. Out of 100 bids, the contractor lands roughly 30. Counterintuitively, a win rate above 40% is a massive red flag. It proves estimates are priced too low, destroying the firm's 12 to 20% gross margin target. To maintain a healthy net profit margin, an estimator must produce numbers that are 100% accurate on all submitted bids, just to ensure profitability on the 20 to 35% of commercial projects that actually manage to break ground and start construction. That required accuracy is achieved through one discipline: strict scope boundaries. A contractor estimator owns only what is explicitly contained within the contract documents. The instinct to pad a bid for unstated requirements is a symptom of an incomplete takeoff, not a valid estimating strategy. A common failure point lies in ignoring Division 01, the general requirements. Division 26 dictates the technical electrical specs, but Division 01 houses liquidated damages, daily reporting obligations, and phasing requirements. Missing a phasing requirement in Division 01 will bankrupt an otherwise flawless technical takeoff. The mechanism to enforce these boundaries is the scope letter. Every bid must be accompanied by a written document stating exactly what is included, what is assumed, and what is excluded. This converts exclusions into immediate change order protection on day one. For a contractor, the rule is absolute. Anything outside the specific bounds of the takeoff and the scope letter becomes an uncompensated, out-of-pocket loss. Switching to the owner side of the table, the objectives invert. Construction managers and owners' representatives do not bid work. They operate a cost control and validation function, ensuring the owner pays a fair price for a completely defined scope of work. Their primary tool is the Independent Cost Estimate, or AACE.
Generated independently from the design team and the bidding contractors, the AACE serves as a neutral benchmark to validate that incoming bids align with actual market reality. This matrix breaks down the process of bid leveling. The CM strips apart that flat $4.8 million contractor bid and maps it item by item against competing bids and the ICE. By forcing raw bids into an apples-to-apples comparison, the leveling matrix exposes front-loaded line items and glaring scope gaps. Looking at this structural hierarchy, we see that the owner-side roles carry drastically different levels of authority and risk. The three primary models are the owner's rep, the CM as agent, and the CM at risk. A CM acting as an agent or advisor, the CMA model, holds an advisory role. As the severed connection shows, they do not hold subcontractor agreements, they cannot direct subcontractor work, and they absorb zero cost risk for overruns. Contrast this with the CM at risk model on the right. A CMAR operates directly in the critical path. They hold the subcontracts, provide a guaranteed maximum price, and absorb the financial hit for overruns. The legal boundary between these two CM roles is absolute. If a professional operating under a CMA contract begins directing subcontractors and altering scope like a CMAR, they inadvertently create unauthorized cost exposure for the owner. Validating a budget requires accurate design documents, which exposes the most dangerous professional misconception in pre-construction: accepting a static budget number before the engineering design is fully complete. This chart maps out the AACE International Classification System. It acts as the industry's mathematical cure for incomplete design data, tracking the evolution of an estimate's accuracy as the engineering is finalized. Pre-construction begins with a Class 5 estimate. At 0 to 2% design completion, the budget is highly volatile, carrying a massive mathematical accuracy range stretching from -50% all the way to +100%. As the CM clarifies the scope, the project advances. Reaching 65 to 100% completion yields a Class 1 estimate, successfully narrowing the risk band to a tight -10 to +15% variance. This classification system is a professional obligation. Presenting a single number budget to an owner without explicitly stating its AACE class designation and design completeness percentage is not an estimate, it is merely an opinion. This animation demonstrates the goal of pre-construction. The process only succeeds when the inclusions and exclusions detailed in the contractor scope letter physically lock into the CM's bid leveling matrix, leaving zero daylight between the two. When that alignment fails, it is usually traced to 3 specific friction points. The first is mismatched wage rates. Comparing a contractor's standard labor rate against an owner's ICE, built on Davis-Bacon prevailing wages, creates a mathematically useless comparison. The second point of failure is misaligned escalation. A contractor who escalates switchgear prices out to the midpoint of an 18-month project cannot be accurately leveled against a CM who only escalated materials to the bid date. The third friction point occurs when undefined AAC classes cause both parties to argue over dollar variances that are mathematically normal for that specific stage of design. Once the variables match, the estimate resolves into a valid guaranteed maximum price. In a commercial market defined by a massive deficit of 439,000 workers and compounding material delays, the margin for error is gone. Financial survival on either side of the table relies entirely on ruthless scope boundary discipline, uncompromising bid leveling, and strict adherence to AAC bands.